Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today's adventure, I am going to talk about the fact that I did one of the most exciting things I ever did in my life, and I love that I did it. I moved to Disney, and I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to know about doing it yourself. Let's do it. So I've been wanting to do this video for a while because I've had a lot of comments where people want to know how I did it, what it's like. And the more I started to think about it, I was like, man, I wish people had told me a lot of the things I'm about to tell you before I moved to Disney. Not that I would have changed my mind. It's so helpful to know some of the things I'm going to talk about today. So these are the 5 things that you must know before you move to Walt Disney World. So basically, I wanted to start by just talking about my story a little bit. So I lived in Los Angeles for many, many years. That's where I grew up. I used to be an actress, and then I became a television producer. And of course, when 2020 hit, the world flipped upside down, and I ended up working remotely from home. And as we all know, Los Angeles was definitely a kerfuffle at that time. So we were kind of stuck in our houses there in Los Angeles for a really long time. And that's actually when I started my YouTube channel. Perfect timing for a travel vlogger to start channel 2020. So I started doing that, and the more I got into doing the things that I wanted to do and the videos that I wanted to make, the more I realized I really love Orlando. I have been coming to Disney World since I was very, very young. My parents were bringing here from the time I was an infant, and I have never stopped coming because I love it so much. It does and has always felt like a second home to me. So it was a place I was very comfortable in and knew very well. So once I started working remotely in Los Angeles, my fiance and I were like, you know what? We could actually live anywhere we want. Maybe we try something new. And I was like, yes, let's try Orlando. And he was like, okay. So this was the first place we came. And what I did in 2021 was, I'd never lived here before. Obviously, I had, only visited like most people. And I thought, you know what, let's just dabble in it. Let's just figure out what this is like and how it feels. And so we rented an Airbnb for a few weeks, and we stayed at a place called the Reunion Resort. The Reunion is a beautiful resort. It's about 4 miles from Disney, from the parks and everything. And we rented an Airbnb for a few weeks just to see what life would be like here. If this is something that you can swing, if you are considering moving to Walt Disney World and you have the opportunity to maybe come for even just a few days and live like a normal person, go grocery shopping and go to the drugstore and the gas station and, really live like you would go to the post office and, just kind of see what the life is like here. I highly recommend that because that was extremely helpful in us knowing and understanding that we would like to live here. So that was one of the biggest things. And of course, as we started to live here and just realized that the life here is just filled with so much joy and fun and just a million things to do. Disney incorporates all of the things that I love. Great restaurants, great hotels, amazing theme parks, just never-ending things to do. I'm a city girl at heart, so this is like my new city, and I just love it. So a lot of things that I learned. So after I lived at Reunion, then we eventually bought a house here in 2023, and it was the hands down best decision that I ever made, and I love it so much. So there's a couple of things that I wish someone had told me before I moved to Disney World. Number 1. So, one of the things that is so epically important when you come to Disney and you want to live here is you understand what the neighborhood situation is like. So, you do not, if you want to be around the parks, which is why I moved here, what I wanted to be very close to the parks. I was like, that's something that I want to do a lot. And so I want that to be really accessible. So for me, I didn't know one neighborhood from the other. I didn't know the fact that even Orlando itself, the city, is a half an hour away from actually Disney World. Disney World is located closer to Kissimmee and it's in Lake Buena Vista. And so, and that's a bit of a trek. So once I got here, I did hire a realtor who was able to kind of take me around and show me different neighborhoods, but it was still all very foreign to me. And one of the things that I learned about most of the neighborhoods here is that there's no real little towns. Like Los Angeles is made up of little suburbs with towns and main streets and shops and things like that. That's kind of a rarity here. Most of the towns that are centered around Disney World and the parks are beautiful. They're all beautiful, gorgeous little towns. A lot of them have tons of gated communities in them, but there's no real suburban main street. There's only a few places that have that feeling where you walk down the street and you have restaurants and things like that. One of them is Winter Garden, which I did a video on that if you want to check that out. They have an amazing, gorgeous little town that was actually a Disney town. Another one is Celebration, which is very famous for Disney actually created that town, or the Walt Disney World Company created it. Both of those are beautiful little towns and have those idyllic streets and the little communities, and it feels very neighborhoody. But you really want to just sit down with a map, look at the areas around. There's so many wonderful places to live all around Disney World. There's a beautiful place called Windermere. There's Claremont. There's Winter Garden. So it's basically Kissimmee. I always call it Kissimmee. Kissimmee, which is basically where Celebration is. So you have all these beautiful little towns surrounding it. And now all of those are basically within, 10, 15 minutes of Disney. And anything out further than that, there's even more beautiful towns and more idyllic spots, but you are getting further away from the parks. And as we will talk about, one of my other things is traffic. So you want to be really, really sure that you understand the neighborhoods around Disney, how close you want to be. I found that I just wanted to be as close as possible, and I basically feel like I live behind the castle at this point because I'm literally 3 miles from Disney Springs. So I am very close and I love my location, but location is extremely important. So really get a map, understand the different spots that you want, start to do some research, and then of course, when you hire a realtor, or if you do want to move here and you hire someone, really discuss the things that are important, whether it's the schools that are important, the neighborhood, having those things around you, or if you just want to be close to Disney like I did. Okay, so number 2 is distance to Disney. Distance to Disney is extremely important. You would be so surprised how often you're going to find yourself wanting to go there. And the fact is that a lot of these different neighborhoods can be quite far away and still be considered Orlando. So that's something that you really want to take stock in, especially when you just figure out, what your life is going to be when you get here, and just kind of understand that's what's important. If that's what you're moving here for, which is what I did, distance to Disney is very, very important. So just really kind of place out and look at those locations of those different neighborhoods that are all around Disney, and you'll find the perfect spot. Okay, here's one of the biggest things, and this is why distance and your neighborhood they're both incredibly important for one major reason. I was shocked at the traffic here. Now, I lived in Los Angeles, okay? that is traffic. That becomes part of your life. Like sitting in traffic is literally part of your life in Los Angeles. So I should be used to it, but I just wasn't expecting it here. And the interesting thing about the traffic, as you can imagine, the traffic is really, really bad around Disney. So there's this wonderful freeway called the I-4. I call it the I-4. I'm from California. Yes, I'm a Californian. I call it the I-4. It's I-4. It basically runs diagonally completely through Disney to Orlando, basically runs across the state. So if you're going, say, from Orlando to Tampa, you're going to jump on the 4. Now this thing has been under construction, it seems like, well, definitely ever since I lived here. But it's just one of those bottlenecks. That's just all there is to it. And it happens right around Disney. This is such a huge thing in terms of where you want to live. I found when I was staying at Reunion, which is south of the I-4 from Disney, I had to get on the I-4 to get to Disney. That was a disaster. Like, it was very tedious, and I would do anything to not ever get on I-4 if I could, because that is serious traffic, and it kind of hinders you. So you can be looking on a map and say, oh my gosh, like I live in Celebration or I live in Reunion. I am literally 7 miles from Disney, and yet you're going to be sitting in traffic for a half an hour. And when I say traffic, I mean like stop down traffic. Like, it's kind of odd, and it is basically just that circle. It is the 4. That's where it's focused on. And basically the 4 will take you to the city of Orlando. So if you do want to go downtown, go to some of those great restaurants, go to the Dr. Phillips, Walt Disney Theater, stuff like that, you gotta put your time into it, because it's gonna take a long time. So just looking at the mileage is not really accurate, and you really do want to know and take into account that traffic situation. For me, I found that Disney is basically north of the I-4. I mean, it's basically on the I-4, but then it's north of it. So as long as wherever I lived stayed on that north side, and that way I could access Disney anytime I wanted and didn't have to touch the 4, didn't have to see the 4, that was the perfect scenario for me. That is something that is huge, and you really do want to know that and kind of map out where you want to live, so that just doesn't become an obstacle for you every time you want to go to Disney. Okay, so number 4. This is something that is really, for me, it's a big deal, and it comes as no surprise, but the crowds. Now, this is something that I thought I would get used to, but you learn how to maneuver and live with the crowds at Disney. And it's not just the crowds at the parks, it's kind of everywhere. But I do spend a lot of time at the parks, so I would say that you really get to understand when it's crowded, when it's not, although we're getting to a point now where I think it's always kind of crowded, but like you start to understand, like, going in the mornings can be good sometimes during the holidays if it's that slow time, but you know, at the end of the day, that's just Disney. So now that Universal has opened Epic Universe, I'm sure that might take a little bit off of it, but you do have to know that this is a crowded town, and but the thing that's so nice about living here is that you really can go anytime that you want, and you can start to really understand how the crowd situation works and when are the best times to go. And when you live here, you don't have to stress about, like, you know, we got to get all this stuff in at, you know, that time. So you can go at night, you can go in the mornings just for a few hours and just bounce in and out of the parks, which makes it perfect. Okay, number 5 of the things that I wish people told me before I moved here. Now, this one will come as no surprise, but Florida is slightly warm. But But I didn't realize how warm. The weather is just weird. Here's the things that most people don't talk about. Everybody knows that Florida is warm and it can be extremely hot during the summer. I do not do well in the heat, so I do find that those summer months I am just not going outside a lot. And unfortunately, most of the things that you want to do are outside or involve being outside at some point. So that can be a little bit of a hindrance. If the heat is bad for you, just know that it is for real. It is a real thing. That humidity it's intense. But we had an incredible winter and fall that was very nice and cool. I mean, I was wearing Ugg boots and sweaters, so who knew? But the weather it's seemingly predictable, but not. They get weird weather in the summer where it rains every day, but it doesn't cool off. So that I didn't know. And I mean, every day it rains, just for like an hour or so, like in the afternoon. So that's a thing. And, but then I will say, like I said, we had an incredible fall and winter, basically from October through February, even into March this year. It was so beautiful and so nice and cool. Floridians do not like it cool. They don't even like it in the 60s. They hate it, but I absolutely loved it. So that was my perfect weather. So as everybody knows, the summers here are intense, but you really, really, really have to prepare yourself for, if that is not good for you, you will not really want to be going to the parks or doing anything. So I've kind of learned how to maneuver and figure out when the times work for me. I mean, it's so crazy. Like, it's even hot in the morning, and then the sun is still up at 8, so it's still hot at 8. So even if you think like I can go out in the morning or at night, not really. It's still crazy hot. So everybody knows, but that's definitely something that is a real thing to take into consideration. Now for my favorite part. So those are the things that I wish I knew and really wrapped my brain around and wish someone had told me before I moved here. Of course, I still would have done it, because now my favorite part is the absolute best parts about moving to Disney World. Number one is that it does not get old, in my opinion. I never run out of things to do here. There are so many things happening all throughout the year, through the holiday season. It feels like it's always some kind of holiday here. But there's so many just fun things to do. And even if it's not Disney, it's the city of Orlando or all these little towns. Winter Garden is so gorgeous. They have an amazing farmers market every weekend. Celebration has one. There's car shows all the time. There's never ending amount of new and phenomenal restaurants that are opening all over the city. I call it like a baby city because I feel like people don't really know about it yet. They just think it's the parks. It's becoming a real city, like for real. Like some serious chefs. You've got every kind of amazing luxury hotel here. You've got the Waldorf, you've got a Ritz, you've got a Four Seasons, and that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to, of course, all the Disney hotels and now Universal with Helios. So it just never ends, the amount of things that there are to do here, which is one of the main reasons I love it here so much. And then, of course, the people are phenomenal. They are some of the nicest, kindest, sweetest, most lovely people. I mean, I used to live in Los Angeles, okay? So take that for what it is. Just driving down the road, people are like, you go, no, you go. Everyone is so nice. Does it have something to do with Disney? Is there something they put in the water? I don't know, but everyone seems like they're in a great mood. They're just so sweet, kind, polite, just lovely. I mean, I've been so impressed, and everyone that comes to visit me notices it too. Not even just at Disney, which of course is next level, wonderful and joyful, But I just love the people here. My neighbors, like everyone is so nice. And of course, so I do have an annual pass. Of course, I probably will get an annual pass for Epic Universe, my new favorite place. And it's just lovely to be able to go to the parks anytime I want, and just for an hour or two, just go to Epcot, have lunch, go in, come out, and have all of those amazing resorts and restaurants so accessible at any time. It just doesn't get old. I just love it. So, yeah. I love my decision to move here. I highly recommend it to anyone that kind of loves the stuff that I love. I find it incredibly magical, and it's the best thing I ever did. So I hope this was helpful. I want to thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you soon.